Welcome to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. Like any good marriage, we will debate, evaluate, and sometimes quarrel about how privacy and security impact business in the 21st century.
Hi, Jody Daniels here. I'm the founder and CEO of Clover Advisors, a certified women's privacy consultancy. I'm a privacy consultant and certified information privacy professional, providing practical privacy advice to overwhelmed companies.
Hello, Justin Daniels here. I am a corporate attorney who focuses on technology, and I'm passionate about helping companies solve complex cyber and privacy challenges during the life cycle of their business. I'm the cyber quarterback, helping clients design and implement cyber plans, as well as help them manage and recover from data breaches.
And this episode is brought to you by, it was fun, Red Clover Advisors. We help companies to comply with data privacy laws and establish customer trust so that they can grow and nurture integrity. We work with companies in a variety of fields, including technology, SaaS, e-commerce, media, and professional services. In short, we use data privacy to transform the way companies do business. Together, we're creating a future where there's greater trust between companies and consumers. To learn more, visit redcloveradvisors.com. Where do you want to start?
I think I look a lot better in the video with freshly cut hair.
It's true. The COVID haircut is the thing. You're going to introduce our guest today?
I'm excited to have our guest today because now we're venturing into the cloud.
Your favorite topic.
It's one of them. So we have with us today Tommy Donnelly, who is the CIO and CISO of BetterCloud and is the thought leader for the future of digital transformation and cybersecurity. And as a cliff note, BetterCloud has some great swag since Jody has many of their hoodies that she wears regularly.
I love the hoodie. Thank you, BetterCloud Marketing.
Everyone loves the hoodies.
They're awesome. Well, Tommy, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about, we always ask everyone kind of how you got here. So share a little bit about your career journey that led to BetterCloud.
Yeah, sure. So I've been a CIO for probably like 12 years at different companies. Really love technology and security. Those are my passions. I wanted to get into an industry that was really focused, like a product focus on things that technologists use or security people use. Found BetterCloud, met with David Politis, the founder of the company, and he is amazing. And I really loved the vision of what the company was doing as it relates to IT and enabling and elevating IT and security teams.
Well, that is a fun journey.
So Tommy, kind of diving into our metaphorical cloud, since it is one of the three major seismic shifts that we're having in business, every company moving to the cloud, what are the privacy and security risks that companies need to consider?
Yeah, there's a lot. And I feel like we have a long way on our journey to really getting like a standardized, strong framework for securing and governing SaaS applications. You know, you can do research, people kind of talk about different aspects of what security and IT challenges that these, managing these applications have, but there's just really not that much. And people were really kind of unsure, like everything you need to do to really secure those applications. Things that we really see are challenging from our standpoint is, do you even know about all the applications? People go and, departments go rogue and sign up for applications. Do you know who has access to those, applications? What data are you storing in those other applications? And whom is that data shared with? Those are really, the things that a lot of people just don't have complete visibility into. And you just really, as a security or IT team, need to understand the purpose of those applications so you can design the appropriate security measures. So those things are huge. It really, really puts a lot of pressure on vendor management. It becomes huge, making, trying to figure out, like, we're not only concerned with the company that we're we're buying from. We're also secure, we're worried about the companies that are part of their infrastructure. And so that chain of trust is really, really hard to get with third-party vendors, as you probably know as a lawyer.
So, hey, Tommy, on that, I wanted to ask you a follow-up question. So I work on a variety of transactions now with SaaS providers or let's say your customers. And what are some of your expectations about the security hygiene of your customers, how well they're using MFA? Because now that they're connected to your cloud, if they're not doing the right things, hey, we're all kind of connected and that impacts you. So what's the degree of kind of diligence when you're looking at customers and what are they doing?
Yeah, it's a challenge in the industry today, and it's kind of solved by just these 100-page security questionnaires, and you're really kind of getting a marketing answer for trying to answer those questions around how is everything behind MFA, and ultimately there needs to be a shift in the industry to create more transparency so I can understand your security posture and understand where your security ends and ours kind of picks up. So what we really oddly look for when we're getting new vendors is we want that transparency, because usually you can work around challenges and work around like security challenges with that company. But if you're not getting that transparency and you don't understand their security posture, it's hard for me to kind of do business with those organizations.
Tommy, you hit on something that I see all the time, which is that it's very hard to know where all the data is. And different people, the IT team might think these are all of my systems. They've done all the diligence that you've just talked about. And yet, as you mentioned, other parts of the company might go rogue. And the marketing team goes and finds their favorite application, and the HR team goes and does the same thing. How does BetterCloud help companies address privacy and security issues with this data all over the place and all these different SaaS tools? Where does BetterCloud come in?
Yeah, so I think the number one thing is just knowing all the applications that you have in your ecosystem. If marketing signed up for another applications that you weren't aware of. And so we do have a product that scans and gives you a list of all the applications that you have in your ecosystem. And every time we do this, we ask people, it's like clockwork. Every time we ask somebody, like, how many applications do you have in your ecosystem? Most people will come back with an answer of 20 to 30 to 40. And in reality, it's usually hundreds. It's 200-300 applications that we're really seeing in these company ecosystems. So I really think like visibility is the first step. You can't secure what you don't know about. Number two is, do the right people have access to these applications? And are you only provisioning the people that need access to these applications? And this is where automation really, really comes into play. At BetterCloud, we allow people to like automate your onboarding and offboarding depending on your role. So that's something that happens systematically. It easily ties back into your compliance needs. If you're doing that manually, you're gonna find places to where it was missed. You didn't know about applications. You didn't know that somebody was added to an application. So I think that really, really focusing on automation to ensure compliance is the way to go there, especially when you have hundreds of applications. And I think that the third thing is making sure that people don't accidentally share data. And speed matters with that. So if you have sensitive data, PII, that's shared with third parties, and it wasn't supposed to, that could constitute a data breach. And so with BetterCloud's product, we scan your data, we'll tell you what was shared with third parties, and then you can actually automate the remediation or unsharing of that data. And you really want that to happen in minutes and hours, not days or weeks, because there's tons of people that are publicly scanning every shared piece of data on the internet to gather information about people. And that's happening 24/7, 365. So, the ability to automate and automatically resolve those issues is huge.
Kind of peeling back the layers on that, Tommy, is so what is important for a company to consider when purchasing and using tools like BetterCloud so it's effectively used in the company?
Yeah, what I always try to do is companies, from a security and IT standpoint, people really have to take an automation first approach to systematically manage things. Just because of the tech sprawl that's happening, you're not building sustainability, and it's really hard to ensure and govern what you're doing without automation. And so I think that these teams that have typically been a little bit more reactive and how they do their job have to be proactive, have to automate, they have to change the skill sets to have those people that can automate things to successfully manage these types of infrastructures.
Is there if someone's listening, we have an audience of small companies to big companies. Is there maybe a sweet spot for where or when a company should realize, gosh, I should probably start putting in some of these scanning like tools that we're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that from a smaller company, like some of the main things that you want to do or when you want to start doing this, I think it's important to build a culture where you are thinking about those things in all aspects of the company from day one. So when you don't, from what I've seen from BetterCloud, from day one, we had security and privacy kind of built into every single process. And we have this culture of security. And so every new security person that's come to BetterCloud has been like, wow, I can't believe, the amount of security we have for a company this size. And I think that building that in, especially into the product and the engineering departments, not only like you see security, with DevSecOps, you see security kind of built into development teams pretty early in a company's life cycle now, but you don't see that from a privacy standpoint. And so a lot of times there'll just be a lot of, it kind of prevents companies from going up market because when people dig into those applications and they realize, hey, we can have this, there's an administrator that has access to this data, but somebody else can run a report that provides that data to somebody that shouldn't have access to that data. You see that kind of thing a lot in kind of early stage SaaS companies. So from my standpoint, it's really just building that into the engineering process and building security into every single process of the organization.
I think that's really awesome advice to a company that's starting out, to really understand it's so much easier to do it right at the beginning and to continue to build that culture, and not just from the development side, but throughout the whole organization. So thank you for sharing.
And it's in those companies, it's really, a security team can't understand every single process, every single thing that every single department is doing. And so people just have to understand how to, it's their job. People need to understand it's their job to understand how security and privacy apply to their specific roles, and, create a culture where they're going to report like, hey, we're sending files like this. This doesn't seem right. Like, it doesn't seem like this is the most secure way to do that. And so they can know to bring those things to the security team, because companies are so dynamic today. It's just impossible to keep up if you don't have that type of culture.
So, Tommy, as we talked today in 2022 in January, I've been immersed in things like Web 3.0, blockchain. So much technology is changing so quickly. So, in light of that environment, what are the biggest privacy and security challenges you think companies face as we talk today?
Yeah, today, I mean, really understanding those new technologies and what type of data is going to be affected by those technologies. Understanding all the new regulations that are and requirements of regulations that are coming out in the world as the world changes. Like, those are some of the largest, I think, problems and challenges, especially with smaller to medium-sized companies. it's really, really tough to keep up with those regulations.
You mentioned something earlier about the vendor management piece. And so as we're talking about, it's a challenge for the small companies and knowing the vendors is really important. What advice might you give to that small company as they're building their vendor ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes back to trying to encourage transparency and understanding where those vendors' security, what they're in charge of and what they're responsible for, and getting those assurances that they can manage those assurances, and tying that back to our own systems and what we're responsibility, and really understanding where their responsibilities end and ours kind of pick back up, I think is probably the number one thing. I think that a lot of people think like, oh, it's on the cloud, they're going to handle everything, it's secure because it's on the cloud. But in reality, there's just so much things that you have to do to make sure that things are configured properly, to make sure that the type of data, if they're compliant, we can store certain types of data on that infrastructure. There's things that you have to do. And, you just really need to understand how those applications are getting used so you can build those systems to secure those applications.
Our heads were nodding because we hear all the time, well, it's on the cloud, it's fine. I don't have to worry anymore. That's
definitely
I don't have it. Someone else has it. It's fine.
Everyone today thinks, well, if I use AWS or Azure, I'm done.
Right. You're all done. Poof.
Which I assume is one of the really interesting things that makes BetterCloud so attractive, is you offer all of these additional services and tools to help people manage privacy and security.
Yeah. And to me, it's all about, it's unmanageable. It's getting to the point where it's unmanageable. I mean, you have a small team. You might have, in a smaller company, you might have 3 or 4 IT people. You might have 4 or 5 security people. But it doesn't change the amount of SaaS applications that smaller companies are used. We still see smaller companies, with hundreds of applications. So it's just really taking that automation first approach is just critical to even having a chance to be able to secure these things.
Well, as someone who spends a lot of time in the privacy and security space, what is your best personal tip if you were at a cocktail party or an outside cocktail party these days that you might kiss?
Go to a cocktail party? Sign me up, Tommy. Can I go? Can I be your +1?
Love to. Yeah. Going back to it, learn to code. That would be almost my tip for most roles in a SaaS in a modern company. Even from a privacy standpoint, I've built almost every new hire that we have in security, and even in the privacy and governance, aspects of what we do. We're always looking for the capability and people taking that approach of that we have to automate things to build that sustainability, and it can really elevate the amount of security and privacy that you get in the maturity of a company if you're able to automate things. So I would say that the best people in those industries are automation heavy, know how to code, know their way around the database. Those things will make them massively successful.
Jody can be a girl who codes.
Does that sound horrifying to you?
No, it's always kind of fun to see what people say. I think so far of our unofficial poll, MFA might be the leader so far that we get when we always ask this question in terms of tips. But that's the idea, is we ask people and it's whatever you believe is going to be a best tip.
Yeah. As far as securing, I would agree with the MFA on everything is kind of non-negotiable for sure.
You can join our unofficial poll.
So when you're not building BetterCloud into an amazing company, what do you like to do for fun?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I enjoy being a dad. I have 2 twin boys that are 8 years old, and they are a handful and probably occupy most of my time. I also love to travel. I love modern art. I play a lot of soccer, I just like to dabble in technology and try to build my own kind of applications using new tech. Try to keep me a little, still have some technical skill. I know that you start losing that after 3 or 4 years as a manager, but at least know, enough to speak intelligently to my employees.
So does that mean you've gone to OpenSea and bought your first NFT?
I haven't bought an NFT yet.
All right, no comment on that one. All right, we'll have to check back with you on that.
Well, Tommy, thank you so much for sharing all this amazing information. If people want to connect and learn more about you or BetterCloud, where would a great place be to go?
Yeah, definitely connect with me on LinkedIn or just shoot me an email, thomas.donnelly@bettercloud.com. I'm always happy to talk to people, talk to a lot of different people about different subjects around IT and security, and love collaborating with other technologists and security professionals.
Well, thank you again for sharing your insight with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the She Said Privacy, He Said Security podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes and check us out on LinkedIn. See you next time.